Hello and welcome to this Coded videocast. I'm Kristen Johansson, Editor-in-Chief of PCI Magazine. In July of this year, Hound Paint was launched. This direct-to-consumer paint brand focuses on premium products that are sustainably manufactured and can be shipped right to the customer's door. Niki Milanovic Lowry, the company's Chief Executive Officer, has a history in the coatings and specialty chemicals industries, having worked at companies like Evonik, DB Becker, Alchemy Cloud, and Chemcove Consulting. I have known Niki for several years, and when I found out that she was launching a new paint brand, I wanted to sit down with her and find out more. Welcome, Niki. It's great to see you.
Hey, Kristen. Thanks for having me today.
You're welcome. So let's start with your past. How did your professional background lead you to start Hound Paint, and how have all of your different work experiences helped you in this new role as a coatings manufacturer?
Yeah, so I've pretty much always been very entrepreneurial, like even when I was a kid. And I've always been obsessed with how things were made. So like when I was studying chemistry, I never wanted to go the healthcare route. I really wanted to go into material science and just learn, how everything is made. In college, I actually started making and selling soap for fun because I just wanted to learn how to make it. And so when I entered the workforce, like in every role that I was in, I just wanted to know everything about it. How could I succeed? How could I exceed my expectations? I wanted to know everything about the company, the products they were making, how everything was made, and why people bought it. Like why companies bought it. The psychology of like buying and selling has always been really, really fascinating to me. I actually minored in psychology and majored in chemistry. So it's been a really, like, my mind has just been an interesting dynamic my whole life. Like, how are things made and why do people even buy it in the first place? So I started Chemcove Consulting because I wanted to dive deeper into developing products. And I learned so much about that whole process. And we actually work with a lot of startup type companies. They're newer companies. And it's a really thrilling experience when you bring somebody's idea, like from concept to the market. And I've always wanted to launch my own brand of products, and Hound just kind of came pretty naturally. I love architecture and design. I always have. And I obviously love the paint industry. And it's just another way that I kind of show my clients, hey, I'm right there with you. I manufacture myself. Obviously, we don't manufacture anything that would be like a conflict of interest. But I'm saying to them, hey, I've been there before, and this is how I solve that problem. So a lot of the companies that we work with in Chemcove actually really like to work with us because we formulate like with flexibility in mind and with the flexible manufacturing in mind. And that's kind of been like, from my background to now, like why we started Hound Paint. And I think, every role that I've been in before launching my own startup, I formulated as a tech service chemist at Evonik, and formulating and listening to customer needs was one of the best, was one of the best things that I learned in my career, because you're not just formulating to formulate. You have to formulate for a reason, to solve somebody's problem. And in my sales roles, I really learned the art of value selling. We never talk about price first. When somebody brings up price first, I'm like, don't do that. So, I've learned different things in every single role. And being in the startup role at Alchemy, it doesn't really matter what your title is. Like whatever comes your way, like that's your job. You have to wear a lot of different hats. So that was a really fun job because you got to learn so much about every, single part of the business. And, at Alchemy, you also are challenged to sell something that changes the way an industry has worked for a really long time. And that's kind of what we're doing now with Hound Paint. I mean, you're buying paint online. That's not something that is normal, that's been normal at all. So figuring out ways to, get around that challenge. So yeah, I mean, luckily I'm a pretty curious person. So I just want to know everything about everything. I know I can't do that, but in every single role that I had, I took it as a learning opportunity. And I just learned as much as I could. Even if I felt like it was unnecessary at the time, I've always taken away from, every experience pretty much. So that's kind of been from the start to when I started in the industry about 10 years ago to now, that's been the path. This feels like the most, it is the most chaotic role I've ever been in, but it feels like the most normal, the most fun.
True to who you are.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So tell me about the paint. What is unique about it?
Yeah, so we tested a bunch of different formulas. There's actually a lot of companies now that sell paint direct to consumer online. So what we did is we started testing those paint formulas, and I actually use them a lot in some of our old houses. But this whole idea of selling paint online was so new, and obviously I had to try it. And what I found is that I like this new way of buying paint, but I was still kind of holding on to this like older nostalgic, like mom and pop, paint shop kind of deal, like where you walk in, you get to feel the colors, the sheens, and get to see it on the wall. But so I would say our formula, it is a 0 to low VOC formulas across the board. I formulated, one of the best paint products that I could, especially right now with, all of the supply issues that are going on. Like everything that I wanted to put in it, like it's gone, can't get it. So I formulated the best product that I possibly could. Low odor, 0 VOC, really high coverage, high scrubbability, and scratch resistant. So I wanted to make this one product, in the different sheens, but I wanted to make this one product where it really kind of simplified the paint buying experience. Because when you go to the hardware store, there's a bunch of different types of paint. And unless you're in the paint industry like we are, or a paint contractor that really knows what they're buying, it's really hard to differentiate between these different types of paint products. So that's what we really wanted to do, make one premium product and do it really, really well and market it in a way that it feels like you're going to a mom and pop paint shop, but it's online, that's what I would say is kind of our business model moving forward.
So I noticed on your website that you have an interesting paint sampling program. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, when you go to the hardware store and you're looking at all of these different sample chips, a lot of the times they're printed, so they're not true to the actual color. And they're such a small size, you have to get a sample pot if you really want to get like a big swatch of it at your house. So we saw a lot of the adhesive samples coming to market, but there's the same problem is that they're also printed. They might be a bigger swatch, but they're not really true to that color. So what we do is we actually hand paint every single swatch that goes out with the exact color that you order. It has a low tack adhesive on the back, so it sticks to your wall enough, but it doesn't take anything off the wall when it comes off. So easy, no mess. You can move it around, different walls, different rooms. You can even cut it in half. It's actually 11 inches by 8.5 inches. So it's a whole letter size. So that's a pretty big swatch. It gives you a better idea of what it might look like on the wall. And, I change around paint colors all the time. So if I paint from a sample pot on that wall, then I have to paint that wall. if I decide not to paint that wall, I can just peel off the swatch and, it can also be recycled. So that's kind of a way that we get over the hump of people buying paint online. You buy a lot of things online now, thanks to all of these direct to consumer brands. Like we bought our mattress online, and that's something I never thought I would have done. So, but there's a lot of tools to help you along the way to decide, okay, I feel comfortable doing this. So the hand painted swatches that are true to color is our way of saying, hey, this isn't as scary as you might think it is,
Yeah, it sounds like a really good solution.
Yeah. It's very therapeutic. And, I paint them, like right when we come in and paint all of the orders. It's very therapeutic.
That's great. Okay, so let's switch gears here a little bit. Your company is female founded and female led. What has this been like in a male dominated industry?
Yeah. Like the $1 million question. I think about this a lot now versus when I first started out. Luckily, I had a lot of really great mentors and colleagues who never made me feel any different. So I didn't think any differently of myself in a male dominated industry for the longest time. It wasn't until my first year of business, actually in Chemco, that I was kind of awakened to the issue of being a female in a male dominated industry. I mean, you can call it naive or whatever, but I just knew that I already knew that there weren't very many women in STEM in general from, being in college. I was one of the only females in our chemistry classes. So I just kind of knew that this was just what it was going to be like in pretty much any, chemical industry that I decided to go into. But the first year that I started Chemco was really, really hard. I didn't know what I didn't know about starting a business. First of all, I went to school for chemistry. I didn't go to school for how to start a business and keep it running. So the first year that I took it, I tried to take it full time. I had a meeting with a potential client and I thought it was going really great. And, right after my pitch, he said, I think very highly of you, and people say that you were a really, really great formulator, but I just don't really want to be a part of this whole Me Too movement. And I was in shock. I mean, I was thinking about it this week. I don't remember what I said at all. I don't remember what my reaction was, but that was the first time that I thought, like, what does my gender have to do with my ability to be able to do my job? And it was certainly a blow to my ego, whatever ego I had at that point. But I mean, when you're starting a business, I was cash flowing it all. So getting that job, that project would have really, really helped me out. But yeah, it was certainly a blow. And I almost closed the business that year. My first year, I was like, I have to make it 1 year. But yeah, it was really hard. So I almost closed the doors. But instead, I decided to take it part-time. And I went to go work for Sasha at Alchemy. And she was the first female CEO that I had ever worked for. I mean, she was really one of the first female managers that I had ever had. And we worked really, really close together. We're still close. And I loved her style of leading with strength, but also leading with empathy and vulnerability. And that was the first time that I had seen leading with vulnerability as a strength. So she certainly restored my confidence in myself as a leader. And, now I think about it and I think, okay, I'm glad that situation happened because I'm a better leader now because of it. Mm-hmm. But I'm also much more aware that it is my job as an employer. It is my job as a business owner to bring gender equality into the workplace. I wish that there were more female executives out there in our industry, because being able to see yourself represented in a higher role really helps when you're working on your career and your leadership development.
Yeah, I know Sasha as well. And what a great example for you, to work with her and to, give you your confidence back and to know that you too can do this, as a woman.
Yeah. Absolutely. And after I left Alchemy and I took Chemco back full time, it was like a totally different business. I mean, because I was a totally different person.
Right.
So I kind of had to go through that year of bringing back my confidence. But I will never forget now that I am a female in a male-dominated industry, and that I have to do things differently. So like it is my job to make the change and not just wait for it to happen.
So let's talk more about the name of the company. I know that you love animals, but how does this translate through to your company other than in the name Hound Paint?
Yeah, I mean, it is no secret that I love animals. I have fostered animals, since we were kids. My parents kind of instilled that to my sister and I. And, with Hound Paint, we do support rescue organizations and animal shelters with our profits, but that's not all that we do. I know that we call it Hound Paint. I love that name. I think it rolls off the tongue. It just feels very, I don't know. It feels very good to have that name, but we also believe in giving back to our community, especially where our business is rooted. So we participate in like mural projects to beautify the areas that are more run down in the inner city, neighborhood cleanups, and, of course, more to come in the near future. We've been open now for less than a month. So we're, trying to figure out ways that we can give back to our community and really listening to what they need. We have a lot of pride in being rooted in Richmond. I think we're one of the only paint manufacturing companies in Richmond right now. So there's a lot of pride in like keeping up with our city.
Well, and I think it's a great name too. It's just very memorable.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, my last question for you is, what has it been like attracting customers? I know you've only been open for a very short while, but what are your strategies?
I would say our number one strategy right now is utilizing social media platforms. So Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, those are the places that smaller brands can really be seen. You can do a lot with those platforms in an unpaid version, so without running ads or anything like that. So there's a lot of things that we do on social media. We're really active on it. We love connecting with the community and potential clients on a daily basis. I mean, that's like our direct line. Whenever somebody has a question, they just shoot us a message and we respond right away. But we do a lot with them. They help us name our paint colors. We have like fun games that we host, and they feel very, very invested in the future of our company. And that's a really great feeling for both parties. But yeah, I would say that is our number one way that we attract clients right now. That's our number one marketing strategy out of the gate. We make sure to include like how-to videos, informational things about things that normal people wouldn't necessarily know about paint. Like what are VOCs? Just what are they? And what's the difference between a light base and a deep base paint? So just things like that people are actually really, really interested to know more about. I mean, we work with a lot of DIYers on Instagram, a lot of DIY accounts, and these people are renovating their homes with their own hands. They're working within a budget. The one best way, most cost-effective way to transform a room is to paint it, and that's something that's very beginner friendly. So whenever you buy a house or sell a house, you're always going to paint it, refresh something. So that's been our number one. We're also working with smaller contractors in the area to kind of get our footing into the contractor network. We're working with some real estate brokerages because like I said, the one thing that people do is buying or selling a home. Somebody is always painting something. And of course, interior design studios as well. So there's a couple of different ways that we're doing this. I would say most of our marketing is online, and then, and then the rest is us actually doing the groundwork and dropping off flyers to newly sold houses and things like that. Just getting to know our city, the people who are buying paint. So it's been a pretty, I would say, grassroots initiative, but the more that people hear about us and then they recommend it to a friend, I mean, that's the best, reference you could get is somebody saying that, hey, we really loved working with this company and, you should use them too. So yeah.
That's great. Well, Niki, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me today. I wish you all the luck in your new business venture.
Thank you so much, Kristen, for having me. It's been great catching up and talking about all of the new ventures.
Yeah, it's been really interesting. And hopefully we'll continue to see each other at industry events in the future.
Of course.
And thank you to our viewers. I hope you've enjoyed learning a little bit about Hound paint. Until next time.